Welcome to our next Wandering Walks of Wonder adventure. Today we're headed to Elk City, Oklahoma and the Old Town Museum where we'll experience the Oklahoma pioneer life. This museum complex consists of a number of different buildings as well as one old Victorian house that will see a lot more detail about pioneer life in the early days of Elk City, Oklahoma. This first building that we're coming to is a restored historic house that represents what a doctor's office and hospital would have looked like back in about the 1920s and 1930s here in Elk City. This redstone building that we're about to enter is an old high school built about 1905. It's a one-room schoolhouse. This small home is the first wooden structured home that was built in Elk City in 1901. This is an old church that was built in Elk City, Oklahoma in the early 1900s. We're now headed to a grand two-story Victorian home that was built in the early 1900s. This was once the home of Mr. and Mrs. O.H. Young, co-owners of the Herring and Young mercantile stores which once dotted this part of western Oklahoma. It was later sold to the Martin Funeral Home and served as a mortuary, but in 1966 the building was acquired by the city of Elk City and moved to be used as a museum. This first area of the home that we're looking at is a recreation of what the parlor looked like during the times that Mr. and Mrs. O.H. Young owned the home. All of the furnishings were supplied by local and area residents. These are the photos here of Mr. and Mrs. O.H. Young. Here in the dining room and kitchen area are vintage dishes of china, porcelain, and cut glass that are displayed on the table in the china cabinet. This kitchen is complete with its perfection kerosene stove, kitchen cupboards, and an icebox. So we now head into the bedroom area. There are antique quilts and spreads that are from the museum's large collection, many of which are alternated periodically for display. The rocking chair is made from a spinning wheel, and the large brown fur coat, cap, and gloves are made from horsehair. Here in the child's room, we see a number of different antique toy collections. The remainder may be found on display here a little bit that we'll see later on. Some of the dolls in the showcase were rescued from the city dump and lovingly restored for display here in the museum. As we enter the Native American room, we're going to see a nice collection of artifacts, including rugs, war bonnets, beadwork, moccasin clothes, and other items from Native American culture around this area of Oklahoma. Also, we can see some rose rocks, which are Oklahoma's state rock. This is the only place in the Western Hemisphere where these mineral formations are found in Oklahoma. In this room, we can see some exhibits of what looked like a beauty shop, kitchen, and sewing area during the 1930s here in Elk City, Oklahoma. We'll also see along the way various memorabilia from Oak City's past. The Stars and Stripe Room gives a special salute to veterans and a collection of military articles from World War I, World War II, the Korean, Vietnam, and Gulf Wars that were loaned or donated by area veterans. This is Elk City's VIP room. Featured in this room is the showcase of 1981 Miss America Susan Powell of Elk City, Oklahoma. Miss Powell, one of the nation's finest opera singers, was also the host of the television program Home Matters on the Discovery Channel in the late 1990s. In the corner of this room is an original oil painting by Augusta Metcalf of her horse. Miss Metcalf was known as the Grandma Moses of the Southwest. Her pictures and stories appeared in Life magazine in the 1950s, and she was inducted into the Oklahoma Hall of Fame in 1968. We're now heading up to the second floor where we'll see the Butler Brothers Rodeo Hall. This is a collection of photographs, trophies, saddles, and mementos that were donated by the Butler family. The headquarters of this longtime producer of rodeo stock is located just a little north of Elk City and is now operated and still continued to be operated by the Binyal Butler family. The Butler family brothers partnership was begun in 1929 by brothers Lynn, Elra, and Jake, and has continuously produced fine bucking and riding stock for rodeos all over the United States and Canada. As we exit the museum where we've seen some great artifacts, we'll take a look at some of the more historic buildings here that we see, as well as different artifacts from pioneer life during the Oklahoma days. We see an old train depot here with a caboose, and coming up is a barn where there are a number of different carriages and saddles and items used in the livery business in old days Oklahoma. We continue our journey along looking at some of these old structures that were brought here to the Elk City Museum complex, including a general store, a nice Victorian home, as well as a boardwalk with different shops that would have represented what the downtown area of Elk City would have looked like back in the early 1900s.